Hello and welcome to Unwrap Sports Network. Recap of Sunday. Uh, what an ending to the week. I really thought the Titans were going to do something in this game against the Packers. I thought Packers maybe a little bit fraudulent just because of their run defense in the past, but no, sir. As they destroy the Titans 40-14 in the snow. What are your takeaways from this game?
I was incredibly disappointed in how the Titans played and very surprised by the Packers defense. I really expected this to be much more of I thought it was going to be a real good Sunday night game to watch, and it was pretty much over by halftime.
That's for sure. I mean, the play by how many times do our team's just going to get destroyed by Davante Adams? I just don't understand it. I do not understand it. Like, how does he not get double covered, like bracketed every single play? Is beyond me. There was no chance for this Titans secondary to stay with Davante, and he just absolutely destroyed them.
Yeah, I mean, nobody else in the receiving corps had more than 25 yards. It was the Davante Adams show, just all day, and. Yeah, I don't know what you say to that because at some point you got to just adjust your defense to that guy and take him out of the equation and make somebody else make plays. And they didn't. Even in the fourth quarter in garbage time, he was just adding catches and adding yards.
Right. And I think, the Titans' game plan, I think, was poor. And just the overall execution of it all. I think it took a little bit longer to get used to the elements and things like that. But that's not an excuse. You should know that you're going in the Green Bay. It's going to be, there's going to be weather. I mean, all the best coaches know that stuff, and Vrabel probably knew that as well. But their team just didn't come out and play. So very disappointing. I think one of the takeaways, I guess, would be that Aaron Rodgers looks like he's in the driver's seat for MVP now. Mahomes had another questionable game, and Mahomes was fine, but he threw a couple bad picks in this one, and I think Rodgers did a good job of doing what he does, what he's been doing all season. So I think Rodgers has a good shot at this MVP now.
Yeah, I'm going to take my lumps and admit I was wrong. I'm on the record several times saying that I thought Mahomes had to lose a game in order to lose the MVP race. I think I started saying that about week 10. And it looks like he's managed to let Rodgers get ahead of him without actually losing a game. They're still managing to win the games, but he's definitely not showing MVP caliber performances as they win. This game was way closer than it should have been. There's been a couple other ones, and just the Chiefs are not looking as unbeatable as they did earlier in the year.
Yes and no. Like, I still think when they're clicking, they're unstoppable. The offense is moving. Everyone, is getting open, and Mahomes is moving around, extending plays, throwing the ball 70 yards in the air. But yeah, I really think that, that with the Chiefs, when the Chiefs are rolling like normally, they're fine. But obviously they tend to play down to who their opponents are. So it's like they haven't covered a lot of games this year. So from a betting angle, like, it's been a nightmare for them. Like, they have not covered the spread very often. So they haven't gone in, just destroyed people. They kind of play around with people and try to get cute. I mean, Sammy Watkins had an interception today. So it's like, why is anyone other than Mahomes throwing the ball at this point? But yeah, I think the Chiefs got a little bit too cute and got in their own way today, but they still pulled it out in the end, and that's kind of what they do. So
and it's weird. You mentioned the betting angles. I was looking at player props, and they had Mahomes at 330 for the over/under, and that is just a ridiculously high number. I mean, it's not high enough to bet the under because it's still Mahomes, but I mean that's a pretty high over to be putting money on.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Um,
he definitely didn't hit the 330 today. So if you did get brave and take the under, congratulations.
yeah, it definitely paid off for you today. If you were on that side.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, Kansas City against the spread this year is 7-8. Um, just for reference there. So some of the other games, I mean, Matt Skura just asked, "Hey Garrett, what are your thoughts on the Bears' playoff hopes?" So let's talk about your Bears here.
they looked really good today. A little bit of a slow start. Realistically, that makes me a little nervous going into Green Bay because you can't afford to have a slow start against Aaron Rodgers. You got to come out there and be ready to go from the get go. I wouldn't write them out of it though. Coming into Lambeau, you need a win, and I think so they're going to come to play, and I'm pretty sure the defense is pretty salty about their last performance earlier in the season against Green Bay because they looked horrible. So, and we're also going to have to watch what happens with the secondary because they had Jalen. Yeah, I'm going to space on his last name now, but Jalen was out, and then the other guy with a really weird name. They had two of their starting secondary guys off. The one guy I cannot remember his name ever. I swear, I'll read
And
it.
you're a Bears fan.
Yeah, and I'm a Bears fan. He's just got an odd name. But so our secondary was a little beat up. Hopefully, we'll get a couple of those guys back and see what happens. But I like their chances. I don't know. I mean, it'd be gambling wise, it'd be a pretty shaky bet, but I would not write them off. And the biggest thing here is with the Packers winning, they're pretty much in the driver's seat for the number 1 seed. I don't think there's really. Did they lock that up with the win, or is Seattle still threatening?
I think Seattle's still threatening.
Okay, so I feel a little bit better if Green Bay had that number 1 seed locked in, but even so, it'd be 2020 for the Bears to just go in there and ruin the Packers' number 1 seed's hopes just to get bounced in the first round. I mean, that would just be the way the Bears season has gone. Go in, take down the Packers like 45-20 or something ridiculous like that, and then just get whooped in the first round of the playoffs. So,
yeah, that would not be ideal for them at all. But at the same time, I want to talk a little bit about Trubisky because I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm in a weird spot with Trubisky, so I'm kind of a Trubisky truther. I think I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I think
welcome to the club on being in a weird spot on Trubisky. I think that is you have the people that are full on drinking the Kool-Aid and want to give him a 10-year extension.
No,
and then you have the people that are kind of like, well, maybe we ought to give him another year. And then you got the people, I think the third camp is where I'm at, where I'm just kind of like, keep him, don't keep him. I mean, either which way, I can get behind it, the decision. Just please, for the love of all that is holy, fire Matt Nagy. Just fire Nagy. Anything else you do, I'll be happy with. As long as you fire Nagy. That's all I need.
Yeah, and I think, the situations they've put him in, the last few weeks have been ideal, and they've actually, I guess you have to give Nagy a little bit of credit for that, but at the same time, there's been so long of him not doing that. So
yeah, did you know that the Bears had a running back?
Yeah, I did. I love Monty, man. I love Monty.
Well, apparently the Bears coaching staff were unaware of that fact until about week 11. So that's a problem.
I agree. I did a huge article for DFF on Monty in the preseason because I was like, get Monty on your team. And the usage was questionable at best last season. It's nice to see him in the second half of the season really turn it on here. And it's, someone they can probably rely on for a next couple seasons here before, he becomes expensive. But I think, he's above average running back in the league. And I think he just needs the touches, man. He needs touches. So,
yeah. Well, and I haven't checked to see how it's updated, but he was at one point in the season, I mean, fairly deep. It was like probably like week 11 or 12. He was like number 31 or 29 or 30, 31, somewhere in there for yards before contact at number 12 for yards after contact.
Yeah,
If you can get that guy to the line of scrimmage clean, he's going to give you 4 or 5 yards a pop. All you got to do is get him back to the line of scrimmage without getting touched, and he'll give you 4 or 5 yards every single time. So, yeah, the utilization and the blocking schemes definitely were questionable earlier in the year. With Lazard taking over the play calling duties, he hasn't done I don't want to say he's done a great job, but he's definitely been better than Nagy was, and getting some use out of Montgomery, and that opens up the play action pass and the bootlegs for Trubisky, which is where he shines.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
play
you have
action and getting outside of the pocket.
Yeah, keeping it simple for him and things like that. So let's jump into what muddied up the AFC North. Just got a little bit more interesting. It looked like the Steelers were going to lose this game. They were playing terribly in the first half. They came back to beat the Colts 28-24. We had the Browns and their COVID issues lose to the Jets, nonetheless, 23-16. And that wasn't because of COVID. That was because they kept turning the ball over. It was ridiculous. And then, obviously, the Ravens winning against the Giants. So the AFC North just became a lot more interesting. As for the Browns and the Ravens, if you look at the AFC now, there's going to be some team that is not very happy. It looks like it could be potentially be a 10-win team that misses out. Is that what I'm seeing here?
Yeah, and so you got Chiefs, Steelers, and Bills have all clinched.
Right.
Because they've won their divisions.
Right.
And then in the hunt, you got the Titans at 10-5, Dolphins at 10-5, Ravens at 10-5, Browns at 10-5. And still in the mix are the Colts at 10-5.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, a 10-win team is going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, and it could potentially be more than that, right? It could potentially be an 11-win team. If the Dolphins win next week, because the Browns play the Steelers, correct? Browns play the Steelers.
Yeah, Browns play the Steelers. I think the Browns have to win to get in.
Right. So do the Steelers just eliminate the Browns? Or do they – because they really don't have anything to play for at this point other than seeding. Whether they want to be the 2 seed, like there's no bye. So,
I don't know if I'm the Steelers, I would treat this as a playoff game because I don't think you want to let the Browns beat you and then have to play them again in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that mindset where if you have a chance to eliminate a team, you eliminate them. You don't want to, look back on it and be like, oh man, we have a chance to eliminate them and they come back and beat you. That's never a good feeling. So. Steelers kind of seem like they are no nonsense type of organization, so I would feel like they would come out to try to win that game as well. But yeah, so it could be real interesting.
Yeah,
for these playoff teams on the fringe of things. So the Ravens have the Bengals, so I think that's a win. The Dolphins have the Bills, which is also very interesting because the Bills and Steelers will pretty much be in the same position then, as long as the Bills take care of business tomorrow.
Yeah, because Cleveland needs a win and a loss from either Baltimore, Miami, or Indianapolis. Indianapolis needs to win and have a Baltimore or Miami lose.
Right.
Colts have
the Jags, so they're winning. So the only question mark here would be the Dolphins versus the Bills, and obviously the Browns and Steelers. So it's exactly almost the same situation. So they would hope that, both teams could just throw in a towel and play their backups, Steelers and the Bills, and then the Dolphins and the Browns win.
Yeah.
And then the Ravens are out based on tiebreakers. Is that the case?
Yeah. I think so, but I got the Browns in front of me, but if Baltimore, Miami, and Indianapolis win, it doesn't matter what Cleveland does. Even if they win, they're out they're an 11-win team that doesn't make the playoffs.
Right. So pretty crazy stuff, nonetheless, in the AFC North. Another interesting wrinkle is this NFC East. So the Washington football team took the L today, and the Cowboys comeback victory over the Eagles came back and just destroyed them. The Cowboys moved to 6-9. The Washington football team is also 6-9, and the Giants are at 5-10, still with a shot. Washington finishes the season with the Eagles, and the Cowboys have the Giants. So the Giants have everything in front of them, playing the Cowboys next week. So very interesting, because I think the Eagles are sneaky. They could definitely beat Washington. Washington's nothing unless Alex Smith is back. I just don't know, or unless they play. Who they have jump in there today? That ex-Carolina guy,
Heineken.
Yeah. So unless they're gonna play,
I'm not saying his name right, but they call him Heineken.
Yeah, Heineke, I think it is.
Yeah.
Because Dwayne Haskins is not it. So,
where's Haskins gonna play next year? Because I think the guy. You don't think he's going to play?
Well, he's going to be on Washington's roster. That's where he's going to be. He's going to be a third-string quarterback on their roster.
You don't think they try to unload him in the offseason?
Who's going to pay him? Or who's going to – a seventh-rounder maybe?
I don't think Riviera wants him there, though.
Riverboat Ron might not want him there, but at the same time, he was a first-round draft pick, 2 years ago? 2 seasons ago?
Yeah, I think you got to cut bait with him as far as Washington goes.
If you're going to cut bait, you're not going to get much for him. You're going to get a day 3 pick maybe for him, and that's about it. So
yeah, but Riviera's been cleaning house. I like what he's doing there, and I mean we can argue the right or wrong because I still think Haskins has potential. I just think ever since he got moved down to third string, it just doesn't look like his attitude is right. It looks like he kind of took that the wrong way. I think if you give him a fresh start somewhere, he might surprise you. And I don't think Riverboat Ron wants anything to do with him. Just not his quarterback, wants him out of there.
Yeah, you might be right. At the same time, I don't know if the Washington beat the Eagles. So I think Dallas has a chance to get in here, which is interesting because I think a lot of people would have bet that at the beginning of the year. Cowboys win a division, and they still have a chance, and not a terrible chance either. So obviously, that's saying that Washington will lose. I have no idea whether they're going to win or not, but I think that Eagles team is a little bit sneaky and could potentially get over the top on Washington.
Yeah, well, it's going to hinge a lot on whether or not Alex Smith is back. Because if you got Alex Smith back, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, for sure.
With Alex Smith at QB, your defense will carry you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that sentiment. Other notable games today, obviously, the Seahawks taking care of business in the NFC West versus the Rams. Now, the Rams looking more and more inept on offense these days. I mean, it was really tough showing for another poor showing for Jared Goff, 24-43, 234 and a pick. Seattle did enough to win this game. I mean, they didn't look great either, but
Yeah. Well, and I was pretty impressed by the fact that the Seahawks managed to win a game only putting up 20 points.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
Like that has not been a recipe that has worked for him this season. So I'm surprised to see it, but yeah, like you said, Goff just had a horrible game. I know, and the Rams. I know Henderson went down late in the game. I don't know if he ever came back.
I'm not sure. I mean, Akers is out this week as well. So
yeah, Akers is out, and if Henderson is out too, that's a pretty rough picture for the Rams as far as playoff hopes.
Yeah, maybe, but I think everything hinges on the fact that Goff just needs to play better. They just he has to play better. He can't be throwing the ball 43 times, only completing 24 of them. He can't be throwing picks, things like that. So I mean, they have the receivers. They have, Cooper Kupp had 8 for 66 today. Josh Reynolds 6 for 65. Woods 4 for 48. Even if Henderson's out, Malcolm Brown's, he's nothing special, but I mean, he's just like any of these other running backs running around out there, like Alfred Morris's of the world and Wayne Gallman's of the world. So they can get it done. I mean, McVay's smart enough offensively to make something happen here, but they're gonna have to come up with something quickly because we got the Cardinals next week. So
yeah, well, and I think the recipe for beating the Rams is a fairly easy one. It's just whether or not you can teams can execute it. You make Goff win the game. If you can take away the run and make it so Goff has to win the game with his arm, you can beat him. And with 2 running backs out, that makes that plan easier to execute.
Yeah, and I'm just not sure if the Cardinals are that team. I mean, we saw them take the L on Saturday against the 49ers on another division game. The Cardinals.
Yes. The Iowa Hawkeye Show. Thank you very much.
The Cardinals against their own division this year have not been great. I mean, they beat the 49ers the first time they played, and then they beat the Seahawks the first time in overtime. And then they lost to the Seahawks. They got crushed by the Rams 38-28. And so they lost to the 49ers obviously this week. So it's going to be a tough game. I mean, the last time these guys played, Kyler Murray had only 173 yards passing, and Jared Goff had 351 yards passing on 47 attempts. So keep that in mind. Robert Woods just absolutely destroyed them, 10 for 85 in that one. So the Cardinals got their work cut out for them. I think, your Bears, if they can pull off the victory there against the Packers, I mean, they might not even need to win. Do they have a tiebreaker on Cardinals?
Yeah, if the Cardinals lose, the Bears are in.
Okay. Well, I kind of like the Bears' chances of getting in then. So
yeah, because
I'm not a huge Cardinals guy. Cliff Kingsbury just hasn't wowed me as an offensive mind. Some of the things that they do early downs is kind of frustrating, and the way they kind of deploy their weapons is a little bit frustrating as well. So, but that being said, they're going to it's win and they're in basically. So,
yeah, and it's definitely a tough road for them, but it's at this point, it's better than having to play Seattle the last week of the year because the Rams are definitely looking more vulnerable than Seattle did.
Yeah, definitely.
So now it could be surprising. It just seems like the Cardinals, I think they're definitely going to be a team to watch moving forward in future seasons. It just seems like they are like one guy, maybe 2 guys away from being a dominant force.
Yeah, I think their secondary is something that they need to look at. I mean, I think Patrick Peterson's getting on there. It's probably time to think about moving on from him, maybe drafting some younger guys in there and just improving that defense even more. Offensive line, of course. Kyler's a little guy. I think it's always tough for those guys. I mean, Baker's another guy that's, smaller in stature that really struggles with, seeing over the line, and you got to move them around a lot and things like that. So it will be interesting to see how they go moving forward. But is there any other notable games that you want to talk about before we head out here?
We had the Raiders drop a game against the Chargers Thursday.
The Dolphins.
Oh, sorry, Dolphins. Sorry,
Yeah.
my phone's being silly. It popped the Chargers game up first for some reason. But yeah, dropped to the Dolphins 26-25. Gave the Dolphins the ball back on their own 25 with 19 seconds left and lost the game.
Yeah, it's not great from the Raiders' angle. What do they do going forward is probably the best question we need to ask here. Do they bring Derek Carr? Is Derek Carr going to come back? Are they going to be committed to him? That's a question. Like, he's played really well this year for the most part. So
in spots, it's just there's been a lot of teams that have been really frustrating from a gambling point of view this season. You mentioned the Chiefs earlier being 7-8 against the spread. And then Raiders, I feel, is another one of those teams. You just don't know which Raiders team is going to show up. Is it going to be the team that beat Kansas City once and then lost by one score the second time they played them? Or is it going to be the team that Derek Carr has 4 turnovers and they get beat by Atlanta or need a Hail Mary play to beat the Jets?
Right. But to be fair, Derek Carr has played very well this year. I mean, he's if you told me at the beginning of the year, I'm going to give you X quarterback, he's going to have 3,700 yards. Well, probably I'll foreshadow a little bit here. He's going to have close to 4,000 yards. He's going to have 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Would you take that? I'm pretty sure you would.
Yeah. Well, and that it comes back to like, what are they going to do going forward? Because even this game, he was 21 to 34, 336 yards and a TD.
Right.
I mean, they had Aguilar and Waller both went over 100 yards receiving on only 5 catches each.
I think the defense is the issue here, man, with the Raiders. It's been the issue for the last couple seasons. So
yeah,
until they fix that, I don't really see the Raiders doing much at all. I mean, they've given up 30, 24, 23, or 36, 30, 45, 32, 26, 31. Like you can't win consistent 44, 30. Yeah. You know, I mean, those are points that they've given up this year. So that's just too much.
How did you feel about Gruden's decision to kneel on 3rd and goal?
I don't know, man. It just seems silly at this point. I'm not gonna I'm kind of optimistic about Gruden because I think he's done some good things there. And, you know, obviously, I mean, when it comes to those types of things, I think it's very easy to scrutinize after the fact. I'm sure he had his own reasons, but at the same time, hindsight's 2020 when we look back at these things. So,
I understand the not running the big play, like not running a risky play where you could have a turnover. But I guess I don't understand why you don't just come in there in jumbo formation and run the guy up the middle and see whether or not he breaks through.
Yeah, I don't.
Right, that's because he got after a reporter in his post game press conference. Somebody was asking him, and it was a long, rambling question, so I can't remember exactly what all they said. But they're just like, when you're looking at 3rd and goal with X amount of time left, and the possibility that if you make a touchdown, you could go for 2, and then the spread would be this, or even if you don't make the 2-point conversion, it would be this, and then you have to force them to go for it. And it got like 4 questions in. He's just like, look, I don't mean to interrupt you because I don't interrupt people. I'm sorry I interrupted you. But going up by 2 with 19 seconds left and giving the ball back is a call based on probabilities. I've been making calls in this game for a long time, and that was the call to make in that situation. And despite the fact that I think they should have just get in, you can't. I mean, are you going to argue with that?
No, I'm not going to argue with that. I mean, he had his own reasons. He made the decision. You know, it is what it is at this point. So, who am I to question John Gruden? He's won a Super Bowl. I've not won a Super Bowl. So,
I'm pretty sure Gruden's making more money than you or me. So we should probably. Well, that was kind of where I was getting at with that. A lot of people seem to be a little harsh on him, and it's like, look at what this guy has done with his life, and look what his paycheck is. So
he's in charge of a multi-billion-dollar company. I'm not. So yeah. He's the one that has to live with that decision, not us. So, but yeah, I mean, I think the Raiders, until they get this defense fixed, it's going to be tough sledding for them because I do think they have the pieces now. Something interesting, especially on offense, even if they bring Derek Carr back again, because they do still have Mariota under contract for next year as well. on a nice little deal. So
Did you buy into the Mariota hype from last week?
I think Mariota's fine. I think he's not super special or anything like that, but um, he's fine. He's exactly what a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL are now. They're dual threats, but I mean, you have him out there for 16 games, he's going to get hurt. So it's only a matter of time. So
Yeah,
like,
well, and I don't really, I get real tired of all the Twitter keyboard warriors that
yeah,
watch a guy have like a good 3/4 of football, and they're like,
yeah.
"Why
Boom.
isn't he the starter? Man, put him in. Bench Derek Carr." And it was the same thing with Foles and Trubisky. That's probably part of why I'm a little salty about it, because obviously, hindsight 2020, benching Trubisky was not the right call this season.
No.
But it's just like the guy's a backup for a reason. Like there's a reason he's in the position that he is. There's a reason Derek Carr was the starter coming into the season, and yeah, I mean, I nothing against Marcus there. He played a great 3/4 of football when he came in when Carr got hurt, but I think it's just a little bit jumping the gun to just be like, oh wow, this guy had a good 3/4 of football. He should be our starter.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it does look like. I mean, Derek Carr is under contract for only $19 million next year, which is pretty. His cap number's at 22.1, which is a nice number for a quarterback, a starting quarterback in the NFL. It's really nice.
That's what they're paying Foles. So
right. So I mean, his dead cap is movable. It's only $2.5 million before June 1st. So if they wanted to do that, I think they could, but I just don't see why they would do that unless they had some kind of other plan going forward, unless they like traded for like Wentz or doing something like that. I don't think they would turn over this franchise to Mariota at this point. The way that Carr's been playing.
Well, I don't really think Derek Carr. He's been somewhat inconsistent, but like you mentioned earlier, he's going to be at 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, 7 picks. I think is what you said it was looking at.
Yeah, it's pretty close to that. Yeah.
Yeah, but do you really want to give up Carr to roll the dice on Wentz?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think that would happen. First of all, so this is a huge hypothetical. But
welcome to the Sunday Night Football recap. we get into these hypotheticals.
I probably would, just because I think Derek Carr at this point is what he is. I think Gruden is a smart enough QB guy that he could probably get more out of Wentz than Doug Peterson ever could. I think Frank Reich was the guy that unlocked him, but at the same time, I think Gruden could potentially bring out another level to Wentz, probably where he was back to whatever he was before his injury. That being said, I think Derek Carr would be an awesome quarterback. Like I would take Derek Carr in a snap in New England. Give me 4,000 yards in 28 touchdowns and 7 picks. I'll take that all day, every day with a defensive-minded coach like Bill Belichick. So that being said,
I'd take Carr in Chicago right now.
Right. So I think depending on where you are, like I'd take Derek Carr over Jared Goff at this point. So I'd take Derek Carr. I think he's probably slightly above average quarterback in this league. And right around the 12 to 15 mark in the league, depending on when you catch him. And so be it. Like, I think he's good enough to get you to Super Bowl if everything was right around him, as we've seen with other quarterbacks in that kind of range. But yeah, I don't think you're turning over and be like, go Derek Carr, go win us a Super Bowl. That's not the situation that you're putting Derek Carr in. So
yeah, well, and I think in the NFL, there seems to be a lot of emphasis on quarterbacks that I think is a little undeserved.
Yeah, true.
I mean, like there's a limited number of Patrick Mahomes in the world. And by limited number, I mean one.
Right.
You aren't gonna I see some of it from Bears fans because I'm pretty deep in Bears Twitter, as you can imagine. I'm sure you're deep in Patriots Twitter as well.
Yeah, it's a gross
But
place.
yeah, but you just like, well, we got this guy and he's middle of the road and he doesn't have the best receivers and he doesn't have the best offensive line, but he's got to be the problem. We need to go out and draft a Patrick Mahomes. And it's like
Yeah, okay.
you can't just go out and draft a Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
and a lot of that was
trees.
yeah, and a lot of that I think with Mahomes was coaching too. I think one of the more interesting questions I'd seen posed is, what do you think would have happened if the Chiefs took Trubisky and the Bears took Mahomes?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's one of those things you got to wonder because
Or hypotheticals.
yeah, but it's like I don't think I wasn't as deep into the analytic or stat side of football for that draft as I am now, but I don't really remember there being a lot of hype about Mahomes coming into the draft.
No, there wouldn't have been. So
yeah, the criticism for the Bears taking Trubisky wasn't that they took him ahead of Mahomes; it was that they traded up to get him. Like it wasn't that, oh man, you like at the time, even at the time, it wasn't like, oh man, you guys should have traded up and took Mahomes instead of Trubisky. It was that you guys didn't need to trade up to get Trubisky.
Well, to be fair, I would have took Watson.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that too. And you look at that, Watson was higher rated, I think would probably be the way to say it, going into that draft than Mahomes was. And now Mahomes has MVPs in a Super Bowl and Watson's in Houston doing whatever Houston is doing.
Right. I mean, a lot of this is coaching. So in the situation that you're drafted in, I mean, if just case in point, one of my favorites, that's a joke, Josh Allen. All right. So Josh Allen came in the league last couple years, has been very mediocre at best. This season, he's played very well. Why is that? Brian Daboll, that Buffalo coaching staff has done a superb job of putting players around him, giving him opportunities to succeed, changing up their game plans, being malleable, throwing on early downs, not caring about the run, putting their quarterback in absolute great positions. We saw early in the season with Russell Wilson. Seattle predominantly run, super run heavy. Everyone's saying, let Russ cook. So they come out early in the season. They're letting Russ cook. His numbers go through the roof. They're throwing the ball all over the place. What happens now? They go back. They revert because they had one bad game. They revert back to their old, let's just run the ball a bunch and blah, blah, blah. Now, look, Russell Wilson not cooking as much anymore. That's just coaching and situations. You got to put your players in the best position to win. And, you got to you got to put your analytical hat on, or like Dave Gettleman said, get your computer people, or whatever he said.
Yeah, that was a good quote. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember laughing about it.
Yeah. So it's like you got to actually give your quarterback an actual advantage every time he steps on the field, every snap. Put them in successful situations because, saying we're just going to run on first down every play is not going, or every first down is not going to get it done in the NFL. And being innovative and smart and how you use your quarterback and who you put around them is actually going to get you wins in this league.
It's real easy to get your quarterback really good stats when he throws the ball, when he throws a 3-yard shovel pass to a running back, and it shows up as a 25-yard completion on the stat line.
Or the jet sweep pass.
Yeah, but I haven't. I'm in Iowa, so local coverage and whatnot. I haven't caught a lot of the Bills games, but the one game I saw, it was just the offensive coordinator was dissecting that defense. It was absolutely ridiculous, and that's what brought the shovel pass reference. I mean, Josh Allen was faking a handoff, dropping back, and throwing it to a guy that was still behind the line of scrimmage, and getting an 8 or 12-yard completion off it.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
that's all scheming. That's all coaching.
Yeah, so I do feel for some of these quarterbacks in the league that get put in these situations that are just no-win situations for them. I feel for Deshaun Watson at the moment. I mean, all talent in the world, but I mean, if you don't have the pieces around you, it's real tough. And like you said, quarterbacks get way too much of the credit and way too much of the blame. And it's kind of an all-encompassing type thing when you're looking at these organizations and how they put the pieces around their players.
Did you see the J.J. Watt video from
I did, yeah.
Yeah, that man, that was kind of hard to watch. You love the guy. I put it out. I retweeted it with the caption "Football Guy of the Year" right here because I was really impressed by the speech. But
he's like the Rock of the NFL.
Yeah, but you feel for that guy because it was that GM head coach hybrid thing they had going on that gave up Hopkins and don't get me wrong, I love David Johnson. That's an Iowa boy. Played at UNI. I watched him play at UNI. I saw several of his games live. And I love the guy, but he was not worth DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I mean, are we going down this rabbit hole right now? Because I think
we can cap it at management. The GM / head coach put the Texans in a really bad position, and that's why he's no longer there.
Okay. I would just say that not many teams, if any other than the Chiefs last year, have actually succeeded by paying a number one wide receiver. So I don't think they were ever going to pay Deshaun Watt or DeAndre Hopkins, so I get why they were trying to trade him. I just would have traded him for something more. So to be fair.
Yeah. All right. And one last thing before we get out of here. Your boy, Mr. Thomas Brady,
crushed it.
Came out and he sat the second half. Is that correct? I think it was the entire second half, correct?
I mean, pretty much. Yeah.
And finished the game 22 of 27 for 348 yards and 4 TDs in basically a half of football.
Yeah, it was impressive. I mean, obviously it was the line, so take it with a grain of salt. But at the same time, it was nice to see him get on page with Gronk. I mean, I think everyone scored. I think AV, Mike Evans had 2.
Let's see here. Evans with 2, Godwin with 1, Gronk with 2. Brown even had a TD.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
5 receivers. I think Brown got his off the backup. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So that being said,
Gabbert. I don't even know who that is.
I mean, Blaine Gabbert. Come on, man. He was a first-round draft pick. Jacksonville Jaguars finest.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I had forgotten about that. Holy cow.
Yeah, forgot about Gabbert. Now Gabbert's looking like he's I'm sure if I look back at everyone's Twitter mentions, everyone's like, Gabbert, sign him up. Next starting quarterback.
He was 9 for 15 for 143 yards and 2 TDs in a half.
And then they forget Gabbert started at San Francisco as well, and that did not go well. So yeah, I thought it was very impressive performance. The Bucs needed a game like that to get on track offensively. A lot of deep shots, things that a lot of people said they couldn't do. They did in that game. They showed that they could do it. And, going forward, I think they're going to be formidable in the playoffs just because I think defensively they're sound. I don't think they're anything special like we thought earlier in the year. Like Tampa Bay's defense is really good. I don't know if they're really good, but they're very sound. They play smart football. Like penalty wise, I think that could be their ending. But Tom Brady needs to make sure that he takes care of the ball in the playoffs. As a Patriot fan, he does get a little bit tight in those situations. It's depending on the game script and how it all plays out. But depending on the matchups, I think they're going to be tough to beat. But at the same time, I think there is a specific way to defeat the Bucks, and the Lions just did not do that. So,
Well, and do you think this was a game where Brady and Arians finally got on the same page?
it's possible, but at the same time, like I said, there's specific ways to slow Brady down, and I don't think the Lions did that. And I think as they go along, as they play smarter teams, that those things were going to pop up again. And whether that comes up in the first round or the second round, we'll see. But I think it will definitely come up again before we decide who the champion of the NFL is this season.
No, I definitely wanted to bring up Brady hitting the playoffs for the record-setting 12th straight season.
Straight season, yeah,
yeah, 12 straight seasons in the playoffs for Brady is what the stat I saw on Twitter.
Yeah, I think he's gone every year since 2002. I don't think they're counting
I don't think they're counting. They said not counting injury, he had made the playoffs every year since 2002.
Right.
So that's impressive. I really get annoyed because if I dare to mention that Brady's not the GOAT, I get my head bit off because obviously I think he's trash. If I don't think he's the GOAT, but I get taken the wrong way a lot of times when I say that. Like, I think he's a very good quarterback. I just think that
you have to stop. You have to stop now.
Well, I just think that Belichick's ability to put a bunch of 75, talking Madden ratings. I had this conversation with Connie too. I think Belichick's ability to take a bunch of 75 rated guys and make them and put them together and turn them into a 99 rated unit had a lot to do with Brady's success.
That's fair. But I also think, you can't take that away from him at the same time. So like we just talked about, situation and coaching and all that comes into play with these guys. And then, I'm sure there were countless numbers of NFL players that were put in a bad situation, but were probably the most talented guys in the league, and it just didn't pan out. And we see that all the time. And it takes some luck to get to the point where he was, and we definitely saw that over the years in New England uniform. So all the best to him. I hope he gets another one. I hope, he keeps playing until the wheels fall off and Giselle lets him play. But at the same time, I don't think it's much of an argument. After that Atlanta game, it was done and dusted.
To give him GOAT on quarterback?
Yes.
Well,
I think you're just crossing. You're nitpicking.
Well, it kind of depends. Was he the quarterback of the greatest team on the greatest run ever? Yes, but was he the most talented quarterback to ever play in the NFL? I think that's where I get hung up.
That wasn't the question, though.
Well, but if you're gonna give the guy GOAT QB status, he needs to be the best QB to ever play the game.
Well, he is the best QB to ever play the game. He's not the most talented. Brady ran like a 5. What did he run a 40-yard dash? Like, he was not athletic specimen, but IQ wise and smarts wise, and accuracy and everything that you want from a quarterback, he's top notch.
Well, why don't you give Dan Marino the GOAT then?
Because he didn't win.
Not his fault. That's kind of where I get hung up.
Give him credit for something that he hasn't done, and you can't take away credit for something that you have done. So I guess that's where and
that's where I get hung up on the GOAT deal, and I more have a problem with people blanket statement that Brady is the greatest quarterback to ever play the game, as opposed to like he was the quarterback on the greatest team, and he was a big reason of why that happened, and he deserves credit for it.
Because that's going to sound so much better when you try to say it like that.
Well, I know I'm not doing a good job of explaining it, but you look at straight stats, and you can't really argue. Like Marino never won a Super Bowl, never even sniffed one, and he was one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. And do you automatically put Brady ahead of him just because Brady has Super Bowls?
No,
Because
but
he had better coaching
Brady,
and better management that put better talent around him?
Brady also played very well.
No,
Probably just
I'm not trying to say Brady is trash. This
that's
is
why
where I
he
get
played
hung up.
as well.
People
No,
automatically
I know.
assume that I'm saying Brady is trash when I make these arguments.
No, I'm saying stats wise, he would have played just as well with subpar receivers. Like other than Randy Moss for what 3 seasons, 2.5 seasons for him, because Castle was a quarterback for a year. I mean, who else has he really had in New England anyway? This is his first year that he's actually had some bona fide receivers. I mean, Brandon Lloyd's of the world, and Jabbar Gaffney's, and the David Pattons, and like you just go down the list. Like even like Deion Branch. Like, come on, man, come on.
That comes back to Belichick's ability to find 75 rated guys that make him perform like 99s.
I think Brady has a lot to do with those guys' success as well. So
yeah, well, you put the quarterback in the position where he's making throws that you know are going to succeed.
But isn't that what
every
coach is supposed to do?
Yeah, well, I'm not trying to take away from Brady.
I'm just trying to say, isn't that what every team's supposed to do?
Yeah, exactly. And Brady does it well. Yeah, we gotta stop. We're gonna get down some rabbit holes if I keep going.
All right, I appreciate you coming on, Garrett from Iowa. Where can people find you on Twitter?
Oh, Twitter. All right, I have Twitter, Sportscaster, and TikTok. I'm not really sure what the TikTok thing is, but I'm trying it. You can all those at the same handle, Garrett from Iowa. And be sure, I got to plug real quick. Be sure to catch the People's XFL show. We're taking this week off for the holidays. We didn't take Christmas week off, so we're taking this week off. But starting the new year every Wednesday night, 8 Central, 9 o'clock Eastern, the People's XFL show with my awesome co-host Midnight Moose will be on. So check that out for all your XFL news and basically any professional football that isn't NFL we cover.
That's awesome, man. I really appreciate your time and jumping on. Make sure you guys follow Unwrapped Sports Network on all your social platforms. We're everywhere now. YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, everything, Twitter. So check us out, and we're out of here. See ya.
Hey, whoa, hold up. We got to pay the bills quick.
All right, my bad.
Yeah, we kind of forgot about that at the beginning.
I'm not forgetting about it. It's right there. It's streaming at the bottom right screen.
Watch the ticker on the bottom. Grab yourself some gear. I got this cool poster behind me. Rocking the sweatshirt. Teespring. Yep, Teespring/store/unwrapped. I'm pretty sure code HOLIDAY is still good for 20% off.
Yes, it
is.
As
far as I know. So check
all
out
kinds
that.
Of colors, assortments, your favorite podcasts, gear, everything's there.
I own more unwrapped gear than I care to admit about. So good stuff there. And mybookie.ag for all your gambling. They're real good at taking my money, so you might as well give them your money too. Use code USN100, get your first deposit doubled on sign up.
For sure. And then last but not least, check out rxhemp.com for all your aches and pains, a little CBD cream. Get in there, check it out at least. Give them a hit. You use RxHemp-USN to get 10% off your entire order. Really appreciate your time once again, Garrett, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Hey, thanks for coming on with me, man. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Follow this guy for good picks too. You didn't even plug yourself.
I mean, people. I mean, I'm streaming on my account right now too. At C152. I give out picks every day. NBA, NFL, whatever's on. College football. I'm a degenerate gambler. Check out Bets Unwrapped podcast on Spotify. We do one every weekend. Yeah, man, it's a grind. That's for sure. But definitely check us out. and make sure you pop in. If you have any questions, DM me. DMs are open. If you want to know what I'm on, what I'm playing, things like that. So yeah, definitely. Thanks for that, Garrett. And